Excellencies, members of the royal family, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good day. South Africa serves as a prime example of diversity with its diverse cultures and ethnicities, yet an epitome of inclusivity as they are all embraced and prioritized by our Constitution, which places the welfare of our people at the forefront. Our diversity transcends more demographic distinctions and encompasses our environment, characterized by diverse climate patterns and varying geomorphological features. These factors provide us with a wealth of natural resources, offering significant economic potential. However, they also pose challenges in mitigating disaster risks and the destructive impacts of climate change. Indeed, climate change is a horrible nightmare of our time. And it becomes catastrophic and horrendous. While South Africa is robustly mitigating the risk of known hazards, such as drought, floods, snow, and veld fires, we have observed that the severity of these occurrences and their impact have been progressively increasing in recent years due to the inevitable effects of climate change. We recognize that to mitigate the impact of climate change, urgent action is required to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and improve climate resilience. This surely requires daring changes across all sectors of the economy through a just and equitable transition that ensures that poorest and most vulnerable are supported and uplifted as we strive to secure a sustainable society. Ladies and gentlemen, such support is not just a humanitarian act of charity, but a conscious moral duty that is anchored on the constitutional values of human dignity, equality, and freedom for all our citizens. Our President, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, has taken a proactive step by establishing a climate commission. This commission's primary mission is to oversee and facilitate a fair and balanced shift towards an economy that is not only low in emissions, but also resilient to the effects of climate change. This initiative stands as one of many within our nation, reflecting our awareness that neglecting to acknowledge and rectify gaps in resilience hinders the advancement of sustainable development and places us at risk, potentially undoing the hard-earned progress we have achieved thus far. As a country, we strive to enhance our emergency and crisis management by responding swiftly and with agility to all disasters that the country experiences. The Cabinet has resolved to review the disaster management system in South Africa. The main objective of this review One is to enhance preparedness, meaning develop and regularly update emergency response plans tailored to specific disaster scenarios, including clear roles and responsibilities. Secondly, to improve coordination and communication by establishing a unified command structure to ensure clear communication and coordination among response agencies, governments, and stakeholders. Thirdly, leverage technology and innovation, meaning utilize drones and aerial imaging to assess damage, identify areas of need, and prioritize response efforts. This is also inclusive of indigenous knowledge systems in strengthening resistant built infrastructure as well as response capabilities. Making risk-informed decisions is essential to set our country as a more sustainable path for the future, which can help prevent and better manage disasters and potential future emergencies. Through our combined efforts and collaborations, building resilience is a feasible action. It can accelerate the achievement of current sustainable development targets in a way that safeguards people, the planet, and future prosperity. This is an essential balance that compels us to move beyond using economic growth as the primary indicator of progress, and instead to perceive improved disaster risk management and climate change adaptation as cost-effective contributions to sound decision-making towards a more sustainable future. Ladies and gentlemen, we all must remember that we owe this to the future generation, to whom we must be intentional, deliberate, and decisive to bequeath a future that is prosperous and sustainable. Investing earlier in resilience and adaptation can help avoid the high costs of hazard impacts and save lives and money, as responding to recovery from and rehabilitating disasters often costs more than preventing them in the first place. Striking a balance between the needs of people, the planet, and prosperity is not just a desirable goal, but a fundamental requirement. The United Nations Deputy Secretary General, Ms. Amina Mohammed, in her release of the 2023 Global Assessment Report, stated, I quote, "If we are to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, we must act to build resilience through our societies and governance models. Otherwise, poverty and inequality will continue." Close quote. South Africa has prioritized disaster risk reduction as one of its key governance objectives, as outlined in Priority 7 of the Medium-Term Strategic Framework, a better Africa and a better world. This also requires collaborative, faster, more robust, agile, and effective institutions, policies, and responses. By improving its emergency management, South Africa has taken a very bold step by reviewing the entire value chain system of disaster management. The intended outcome of this process is a more agile system that focuses on building resilience through the integration of climate change adaptation, sustainable development goals, and recognition, as well as the attainment of the targets outlined in the Sendai framework. To achieve this important task, we will draw lessons on how to enhance our disaster management system. The following structures are established to ensure effective crisis management in the country. At the local level, Local Disaster Joint Operations Center, all municipal disaster management centers form that structure. At the provincial level, Provincial Joint Disaster Operations Centers, all provincial disaster management centers. At the national level, National Joint Operations Center, National Disaster Management Center. Overall, the Intergovernmental Committee on Disaster Management is chaired by the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, wherein ministers, deputy ministers, and provincial members of the executive committees or councils are members of the committee. As a country that also recognizes its royal leaders, we also work alongside with constitutionally and statutorily recognized houses of royalty at different levels of government. South Africa is currently the chair and the host of the G20 in 2025. This week, the G20 Disaster Management Workstream is underway in eThekwini, one of our metropolitan municipalities in the province of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. The G20 has been actively working on disaster response and resilience with a focus on reducing vulnerabilities and addressing inequalities. The recent G20 Disaster Risk Reduction Ministerial Declaration, member countries reaffirmed their commitment to institutionalizing inclusive approaches to disaster risk reduction, enhancing collaborative efforts to explore opportunities for increased financing, and exchanging knowledge and best practices, strengthening disaster resilience and response, enhancing disaster preparedness, response and recovery efforts with a focus on supporting countries that are most vulnerable to disasters. Innovative financing mechanisms. As South Africa, we believe exploring innovative financing mechanisms such as insurance and risk transfer to support disaster risk reduction and management efforts becomes key. International cooperation, fostering international cooperation and knowledge sharing to enhance disaster risk reduction and management capabilities. The G20 has also emphasized the importance of addressing the root causes of disaster risk, including poverty, inequality, and climate change. By working together, G20 member countries aim to reduce the impact of disaster and promote sustainable development and resilience. In South Africa, we remain fully committed to building a future that is better equipped to handle the impact of disaster. Through the 2025 World Crisis and Emergency Management Summit, we eagerly anticipate cross-pollinating ideas, sharing experiences, and establishing new partnerships to enhance our disaster management system. We believe that together we can forge a future in which disasters no longer have the power to shatter our communities and hinder our progress. Our shared responsibility, after all, is to protect our people, our economies, and our planet. And as South Africans, we stand ready, enthusiastic, and committed to this cause. The time is now. Thank you very much.